Hi, Ria.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to chat with you. I'll be honest, before the episode yesterday, I thought I am going to be talking to Traitor. I just had a feeling. And
Mhm.
I am surprised the conclusion is you. But how do you feel?
Honestly, watching it's hard. Like I really am someone who like my whole life motto is assume positive intent. So when I went into the conclave, when I was asked to be a traitor, when I went to the roundtables, like I really was trying my best to um, trust and love. And so maybe I was in the wrong show because I realized very quickly that my big heart really got me into trouble. But honestly, I have no hard feelings. I feel like I got everything I wanted out of the game. So having like my trader's journey come to an end for now is, yeah, it feels very like as it should.
Mhm. Well, tell me a little bit about your knowledge about the show. Were you a super fan? Were you a big fan coming into it? Like, what was your experience?
Yeah, I would not consider myself a super fan. I probably would have before the show, but then I met people like Aspir and Meredith who've like seen every episode and know everything about everyone. That is not me. I watched a couple of seasons and I watched the US in like a really rough binge episode era where I just watched all of it straight to finish. And then I watched Canada. And so I've like seen it here and there. I love the show. I think it's a great show. But I've always been a reality TV fan. Like even from being very, very little, I'm like everything on a screen I love. Movies, TV, but specifically reality TV. So going into the show, I think I thought it would be something like one thing, and then actually being there and doing it is so different. So I had an idea, but nowhere near what it actually was like.
So, being a fan of reality TV, did you know that when this opportunity arose, that this is the option for you, or were you debating what made you apply or end up being on the show?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a joke because my friends would always joke with me, like, oh my gosh, you're going to be on Love is Blind one day. You're going to be on Love Island. Like, we always joke that the only way that I'm going to get married is if, like, I meet someone on national television.
Mm.
I'm not going to find anyone here in Ottawa. So it was just really funny because it's always been a running joke. And things that I say, and as we've seen, the way that I say them, has always been received as very funny. And so people always say you should be on TV, and I always say no, I should not, but thank you because I am a bit of an odd duck. But it was just kind of the night came. It was after work. I was drinking a bottle of red wine, and then I finished the bottle of red wine, and then I hopped on and made my video. And I really didn't think anything would come from it. And then yeah, here we are, fast forward. And so it's still so surreal and crazy to me that like I am just an office administrator in an elementary school who has now been on a reality TV show and is here sitting with you. So it's kind of crazy.
Well, I hear you on the Ottawa dating scene. I'm familiar with her work, so I'm with you on that. In terms of after you applied, I figure you must think, what is the strategy? Did you want to go into the game as a faithful, a traitor, or was there a strategy you wanted to come into the game regardless of the role you had?
Yeah. So when I auditioned and when I like went into the show, like my heart's intent was to be a traitor because my thought was number one, like people aren't going to think I'm a traitor because I'm very kind and sweet and I love human beings. So I was like, it would be a situation where like we're besties and then I'm murdering you in your sleep and I could live with that. Or I thought so. And then yeah, I started thinking about what my strategy would be. I was really aware of the fact that I'm a very outgoing person. I used to think I was an introvert, which is hilarious now as I watch myself back. Like, I really, really knew I would want to make friends and be my bubbly self, and that's a hard thing for me to bottle. So I knew whether I was a faithful or a traitor, I would need to really work on my social game and really put a lot of emphasis on trust with people. And up until my voting, which other people didn't get, but I always stood by, I felt like I had a lot of trust with people. So my strategy was just to go in there, be everybody's friend. Like, I think I really misunderstood what show I was going on because when I think about it now, I definitely could have spent more time strategizing and planning, but that's just not necessarily who I am. So at the end of the day, I just played the game that came naturally and it led me to where it did. And I have no regrets.
Well, we have to talk about the other castmates on the show, specifically also the fact that you're a reality TV fan. I'm curious, did you recognize any of our big reality icons who came into the season, like Hollywood Jade or even Kevin Jacobs? Was anyone familiar to you?
So I actually forgot that the Traitors brought on celebrities. So this sounds so dumb. Like my ADHD was in full blast. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go on a show and I'm going to meet a bunch of friends and like we're all going to be. So I really only realized it the night of entrance into the manor. And like I look up and there's like a 6'9" man that I know from TikTok. And I'm like, Dom? Like what are you doing here? And then it was just like, it kept going on like that. Like I'd look at someone for a bit and then I'd realize, oh my God, that's Kevin from Big Brother Canada. Like, and my mom and brother are huge fans of Big Brother, huge. So it was, I know Ty and Kevin from them constantly showing me clips. So there was a little moment of like imposter syndrome, just of like, what am I doing here with like Big Brother Canada winners, Real Housewife villains, like just all of these people that have done this kind of thing before. I felt very, overwhelmed, a little starstruck in moments. One of the people I'm closest with from the show, Sarah Nicole, who I love more than anything, I had no idea who she was before the show. And so I think there was a chess challenge where they mentioned she was on 5 or 6 magazine covers. And I remember being like, I thought you were a mom. And like, and now I know she's like a 3 million follower Instagram social media Mongol. So it's just kind of crazy.
Well, I'm curious, who stood out to you as someone you wanted to maybe stick close to in the game? I feel like we hear you a lot. I have heard you mentioned a lot in my exit interviews so far, but I'm curious, like, who you were close to. Yeah, girl, your name, she comes up all the time, which is why I really am excited to talk to you. So
that's so nice to hear. I hope all good things. We'll see. But no, going into the game, I originally had this plan of being in like an all girls alliance, getting to the end and killing all the men. Like that was my plan going into the game. Yeah, see, clock it. But what happened was I was surprised because I think the Traitors Canada casting team found the last good men in the entire world and put them on the show. I loved all of them. So very quickly I realized like, this is not going to work. I met Chala very early on and I remember falling in love with them the moment I looked at them. So I was like, yep, I could work with you. They were like, I'm a faithful. I want to play a faithful game. I was like, I will be faithful to you, baby, whatever you want. Like I loved Chala. But my bestie was Jericho. Jericho and I were like this from the second we met. We knew we were going to work together and there was no one I wanted to get to the end with more than him.
So let's go back to that first round table, because obviously you mentioned that you wanted to be a traitor. So I'm sure you were as gagged as the rest of us when Karine reveals the twist that actually me touching you means you're faithful. So take me back to that moment. What was that experience like for you?
This woman loves a mind game. I really did think I was about to be a traitor. And so I'm sitting there gulping, like, I'm like, don't touch your water, don't touch your beard, like all the things that are going through your mind. And my stomach dropped. Like I was excited, but what I thought would happen was that I'd be really like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted. And I had a different physical response. Like I was almost not disappointed, but I was like, oh my God, now I have to be a traitor. And so it was almost like performance anxiety. Like it just felt really like, I don't know that I can do this. So when she revealed that it was the opposite, you could probably even see it on my face. I was relieved. I was like, this is going to be a lot easier. And obviously the fear of murder is always there, but the fear of banishment is too. And I also knew pretty early on that if I was going to make it to the end of the game, I'd have to be recruited. That was my thought process, or the faithfuls would have to get it together. And it was looking more like that wasn't going to happen. So yeah, it was a twist for sure.
Well, I want to talk about Ty a bit. I know he's the first murder, but he was someone I talked to initially, and he had mentioned a closeness with you. And to me, I felt like that started a trend because Ty gets murdered, but obviously says he's close to you. Then Curtis gets banished, and you and Curtis had a back and forth. And then Thomas as well. And like, I just feel like I was like, oh my God, Ria's kind of like in the thick of it. And that was when you were just faithful. So I'm curious throughout the game, did you feel like your target was getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Or do you feel like that kind of happened towards the end of your journey?
I felt so I see what you mean. And looking back, there was definitely this feeling of like, I really connected with Ty, loved Ty from the beginning. And then he went home. So then I'm thinking, okay, who else am I like? And I'm talking to Curtis, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Curtis and I were like playing the same game or anything like that. But then Curtis goes home, and we had to work closely together in our challenge. And then, like you said, yeah, Thompson goes home, and Asker goes home the day that I start talking to him. Like it felt like I had a kiss of death. Like you met me, and then suddenly you're gone. And so I kind of at points was like, this cannot be a coincidence, but also I live my life like I'm the main character. So it was very much like, of course this is happening to me. Like, I was not that surprised. I didn't think about how it would make me look bad until a little too late. I didn't think about the fact that so many people that were around me went home. But I think the piece that's important to remember is I was close with everyone. There wasn't a single person in the house I like didn't get along with at the time, and that I didn't have a friendship with. So I really felt like no matter who it was going home, it would still have felt a little personal. But still very surprising to see everybody that I got to know disappear within a blink of an eye. It definitely made me question and also threw me off as to who the traitors could have been and why they were picking these people.
Well, I want to talk about some of these unfortunately gone too soon house guests a little bit more.
Yeah.
Specifically to start it off, you and Curtis, I thought was very interesting. Because when I spoke to Curtis, obviously he told me I felt really close to Ria. Like she was someone I went to. I tried to like sew in this good relationship. So when we got together at the challenge, I was super excited to summarize in theory. And I told him it couldn't have been the same, I fear, like in the car and things like that. So I want you to shed maybe a little bit more light on that and get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I really respect Curtis, and it's really, really hard to go home first. Nobody wants that. And it was really hard. I think when Ty went home too, and they were so close from the beginning, it automatically put a little bit of a target on Curtis's back. The very beginning, you don't have a lot to go off of. You're going off of tiny inconsistencies, weird energies, who's talking to who. And one thing that Curtis did was he kept his cards close to his chest. Totally understand why and respect it. But I think that made people look at him with a little bit of like a question mark. I did have a good relationship with Curtis, but I had a good relationship with everybody. I really I understand him feeling a bit like, oh, like it wasn't safe. But I had really just tried my best to become close with as many people as possible because I really liked everyone. And I would figure out with time who I would want to work with closer. I feel so bad for Curtis. It's just that there were so many little things that had us going, maybe. And honestly, for me, the nail in the coffin was, he was saying names from other people, but he wasn't saying his names. And then it was just, it was a little bit messy. And like early on, you could play a perfect game and you could still go home. But it was his birthday and that played a big part of it. And like when I tell you I can't hear happy birthday without being triggered now, I'm like, I am so sorry, Curtis. Like I really thought after the first challenge he would be giving me a shield. Every single person thought the same. So I think he kind of put that nail in the coffin a little bit for himself. And I know he said, well, Ria made it really special. I did. I own that. I did want to make his birthday feel special, but I meant with a card or a cake, not with my ability to stay in the game. So yeah, I feel bad. It is what it is. I hope he'll forgive me. Who knows? But Yeah, I felt bad watching it back and seeing that he really was faithful. I would not have voted for him if I did not have a lot of conviction.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Thompson because I thought your dynamics were so fun, and I got excited. I thought it was so clever that the two of you voted for each other. I was like, okay, this is a good way to like be a threat, but like still try to suss out other people and stay alive. And yet he dies. So I just please tell me your perspective on that as well. We got to hear a little bit from him, but
Girl, that was the craziest moment for me. That was one of 100 moments where I was like, oh shit, like we're not in Kansas anymore. Like it was just Thompson and I drove in together, night one, same car. And we really liked each other when we first met. And then as the days, went on, we just hadn't had a chance to talk game. Like it really was, there were too many people and we just didn't get a chance. Jericho was close with both of us, but we just never connected. And unfortunately for us, we connected too late because like us voting for each other, I know he thought it was me and I know I thought it was him in that moment. I had heard him saying my name. At this point, I'm like, everybody knows I'm faithful or thinks I'm faithful. I was very surprised that he was saying this, and the acting thing made me feel crazy. So I vote for him. He votes for me. And I'm not even kidding. Within 5 minutes of sitting down and talking to each other, we were kikiing. And we were like, we're going to be Gabby and Dylan from Canada. Like, we are going to make it to the end. And I actually, in that moment, said to him, like, let's work together. And him and I agreed, like him, me and Jericho, like, let's make it to the end. And I would have 100% honored that I would have. But the traitors had other things in mind. Like I know the betrayed come in and decide to kidnap us, and I hide behind Thompson, and then we go out together. The last person that I thought would have died that night was Thompson. I was convinced it was going to be me. So just crazy, but lots of love to Thompson. Taken too soon.
And lastly, before we talk a little bit more about your, I guess, the last episode, Omar, I was kind of surprised by the emotion that Omar had about the potential of you voting for him. And I don't feel like your relationship was too highlighted from in my perspective as to why that relationship had so much weight. And I'm curious what your take on that is.
Yeah. The game itself took a really big toll on me. Like I remember hearing about a player in the US that decided to leave the show because it was bringing up a lot of, childhood trauma, and he just felt like he couldn't lie and cheat and kill people. Like it was not for him. And very early on, I realized this was going to be a lot harder for me for the same reasons. I'm not someone who betrays people or cheats or lies. And like, I take it really personally and I care a lot. And I've always thought of it as a weakness, and I'm learning that it's a superpower. And in this game, I cared very deeply for Omar, like as a human being. That was the first time really where I had to vote for someone who I like loved and couldn't do it. Like I could not do it. I brought up his the show is so many hours squished into an episode, and you don't see so much of things. But Omar and I were close, and I did really care for him. The problem was just that when you're going off of what information you have and what evidence you have, it's just you can get so twisted in your brain. At this point, my brain was fried. I did not know anything. At one point I was like, can I just vote for myself? Can I just send me home? Like it was hard. And so when I brought Omar's name at the table and I had these questions, I really would look at the table as this opportunity for us as faithfuls to bring up names, say what we've heard, and let people speak. It very quickly turns into, as you saw, a witch hunt. It would be someone's name's brought up and then, well, here's why he's a traitor and all of these reasons. So with Omar, I needed to hear him out. I went into the roundtable really thinking it was him from the pieces I had gathered. And I was just really wrong. And my gut didn't hit until the very last minute. He looks at me from across the table and he like gestures, mouths that it's not him. And I just could feel in that moment, like it's not him. And sure, I could have still voted for him and honored Jericho and, gone with the house, as Dom said, and been a swing vote. But that's also not who I am. If I don't believe you're a traitor, like, maybe it's a character trait of mine, a character flaw, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to vote for someone if I actually don't think they're a traitor. And in that moment, I didn't. And when my chaotic voting comes up and I vote for people like Lizette or people like Dom, it wasn't a throwaway vote. It was just the only other suspicions that I had in that moment. My biggest problem was just having my gut instinct hit me too late. And that happened for Asphere. It happened for Omar. And I just couldn't do it at the end of the day.
I'm curious because you have that deal, right? Or you have that conversation with Jericho, and it is kind of somewhat public because Natalie mentions being in that environment, I guess, a little bit earlier before you make a concrete plan or deal or whatnot. Did it ever like cross your mind to just outrightly, like as you're writing it, maybe try to look at Jericho again and let him know in some capacity? Because I feel like that is a big part of people's mistrust, which I don't think is fair because that's a conversation between you and Jericho. But I think people just take that and run with it.
Yeah. I always left writing on my board to the very last minute. People quick to go, oh, I know who it is, and write it right down. And Jericho trusted me so much that he had already known, I'm writing Omar. That's what Ria and I have said because of our water thing. So he had written it down before I would have even been able to make it look. And I can't speak to all aspects of it or, like what happens when the cameras aren't rolling. But like, I can say that if I had any ability to warn Jericho, like I can't didn't know, like, or to put it, I would have, I just didn't. And so it was just one of those unfortunate timings where my gut's telling me it's not Omar anymore. I've just told my closest ally in the game to vote for this guy. I don't think I can. And I'm either going to betray my best friend or I'm going to betray myself. And I had to choose myself. Like I had to choose myself and I had to go with my gut. And I don't regret it. It put me on the map and it made people suspicious and that's fine. But I couldn't vote for Omar in that last moment. And I stand by that.
Well, when we see the episode, there's a conversation obviously between Venus and Coco. We get to see things that you obviously don't. But when they offer you the role of traitor, I was praying. I was like, girl, say no. Because I was like, it would make sense that your level is already kind of like up there as a threat. So if you say, hey, I got this offer and I'm not, then I refuse it. Like to me, I feel like that would have cleared you in a way that, I don't know, could have helped you advance in the game. But I'm just curious, did that thought ever cross your mind? Like maybe I should say no. Maybe they are setting me up, because that last roundtable was like, I feel like all eyes on you.
Yeah. I would say, it's hard because again, it goes back to who I am as a person. I always assume and I probably shouldn't have. I went in there and was given the opportunity to be a traitor and I sat there and it was a hard decision. I was sitting there. I was pulled out of my bed in the middle of the night. I'm showing up in my pajamas, no makeup, no hair. I've got my pimple patches on and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? Do I want to be a traitor? Do I want to be a faithful? Do I want to stick with Jericho? Do I want to take Jericho with me? Like, how can I play this game and what's the best for me? I was really aware, as you guys saw, I crashed out when Omar went home. Like, I'm crying to Jericho. I'm apologizing. Like, I'm mentally done at this point. And then this offer is given to me. And in the moment, all I could think of was, really, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. Like, part of me thinks, could I have stayed if I was recruited? But also, for whatever reason, people didn't trust my word anymore because I got things wrong. But at least I was willing to shoot. There were lots of traitors that weren't saying anything, and that really upset me. But I was just doing my best, and people didn't trust me at that point. And I thought to myself, if I'm going home next week or the week after that, or the week after that, which I felt like I was, would I rather do it as a faithful with all these people mad at me and this and that, and like whether I'd be fighting to get their trust back, or do I want to do it potentially as a traitor? And at least if I was on the traitor side of it, I wouldn't have to worry about murder. I could actually sleep. I know I'd be at breakfast the next day. In the back of my head immediately, I'm like, obviously I'm going to find a way to get Jericho to the end with me. I think because so much was going on, I didn't think twice about whether or not Venus and Coco were, double crossing me. I really didn't realize that I was a little lamb going to slaughter. But honestly, kudos to them for pulling it off. They really did a great job. And the girls knew me. They knew I was a girl's girl. They knew that I wanted to make it like, and so they really played into that when they chose me, and I fell for it, which, yeah, my trusting nature did me no good.
So when you're going into the next day, like it's so hard because I'm watching it. I'm like, I know the tea, I know what's up. And I'm thinking, is Ria maybe overdoing it at the breakfast table? I have no idea. It's hard for me to gauge because I feel like I have all this information as a
Yeah.
viewer versus like someone who's just sitting beside you. Like I was so scared when I saw you sit beside Hollywood Jade. I was like, you're going to get grilled, girl. Like, I don't know. So how do you go into the next morning when you've been a faithful, but now you have to switch it on technically because now you're not essentially that identity anymore?
Yeah. I thought I was playing it cool. I thought I was just, being my usual self. But I will say my nerves were so high. I could feel sweat in my palms. I was like, people are going to read right through it. I was like, I'm going to put my hair in pigtails so I look like a nice, good, like I'm a good kiddo. You got me. And like, I was so hopeful that people would like, oh yeah, she's still faithful. But also, yeah, I'm sitting next to Hollywood Jade, who's looking at me with those gorgeous eyes and those big old lashes, and is like, you're voting randomly. And I just like, I'm like, every question he had for me, I'm shaking in my boots. Like he's going to see right through me. And it's just funny watching it back as I'm yapping on about, is this juice from concentrate? And what do we think about this? And Jamal's clocking. Ria's got a little bit of confidence today. And I don't think I realized how bad I was at lying or hiding things. So that's funny to realize I really am a faithful girl.
Well, I want to go into a little bit before the round table because you and Jericho have a conversation about voting Coco, and obviously Coco is a traitor. So
Mhm.
I was just curious, like, how do you go about that? Like, you just got recruited, so was it really like in your mind it's either Coco or me, or was it like why I guess agree to that plan knowing that you're going to betray her 24 hours into your trader's stay, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's very clear to the public from watching that this is a really close cast. Like we
Mm.
all really cared for each other. Even when Kevin went home, you could see the emotions on people's faces. Like we felt betrayed, we felt upset, we felt lied to, we loved him, we were sad he was gone, we were happy he's gone, he's a traitor. There was so much emotion. And I think because of what happened with Omar, which was by far the most emotional roundtable, people were all really burnt out. So the next day, really, the only names coming up were me and Coco. Coco's name had been on the table for a while now. And she's amazing. I don't have to tell anyone. It was so clear that she was playing a great social game. Nobody wanted to get her out, except Jericho. He knew, but I realized very, very late that it was going to be me or it was going to be Coco. And I should have played more into a little more defense, a little more, okay, guys, but you can want to vote me and vote me next week. But Coco's clearly, but I also had still really wanted to work with Venus and Coco. Like I thought, I really did not know how the table was going to go. Venus and Coco, kept assuring me everything would be fine and we'd get someone out and it didn't have to be one of us. And Coco even said, like, I'm willing to fall on the sword for you guys. And I really thought that made sense. I probably should not have. It just was a moment where there was no one else that made sense to bring up. Like Jamal bringing up Kara, everybody's laughing at any other thought, right? It was down to me or Coco. And at that point, truly, people were more, I really think, emotionally upset and invested in me and the Omar vote and then the Dom thing and confused and upset and angry and pointing it at me instead of looking at the actual like evidence that we had, which was very little, but was all in favor of Coco. So yeah, I don't blame anyone. I think everybody did the vote that felt best for their heart. That's all I wanted from the beginning. That's what I said. That's what I was penalized for. But I'm glad that people voted the way that they felt like they needed to. I'm glad that I gave them $10,000 and I'm glad that I got to go home and sleep peacefully that night.
I'm curious, did you think while you were voting for Coco, I'm extending that target on her even more? Because like I understand why you voted. It was either you or her, but you were technically the second announced traitor to vote for her. Heck, Venus voted for her last week. So like all the traitors have voted for her. And I feel like you kind of have that knowledge now that you know where the cards lie and all that stuff. So were you thinking about that when you were casting your vote, or were you just thinking, for me?
Honestly, neither. In that moment, I knew I was going home. It was very clear from the way the round table went that I was the one that was being voted for. And all I could do to make up for the night before was honor the person that I was closest with in the game. Jericho said, Coco, I told him, I'll vote where you want me to vote tonight. And the only thing that mattered to me in that moment, knowing I'm going home, was, proving to Jericho my word and what that meant, and showing him like, I got you as well. And so in a way, I see how it makes sense that I could have been like, oh, well, look at Coco. Now everybody's voting Coco. But honestly, and I'll say it again, this was kind of a dumb group. Like, I love all of them, but they're all sexy idiots. I keep saying that because like they're all so hot and like so dumb. And that includes me. Watching it is so painful. Like every single week. And so it just kind of felt like that again. It was like, Coco, here, proof, take it, yum. And they're like, I'm upset about what Ria did. And so it just felt like in that moment, there's no reasoning. There's no point. The only person that I knew for sure was a friend in and out of the game was Jericho. The only person I wanted to clear anything up with was him. And that's why I voted for Coco.
Well, I do want to talk about Jericho because I did put out a tweet. I was like, I feel like Jericho. I said I think Jericho has been on the ball this entire season. Like I think he's been excellent, like excellent down. But because you were announced a traitor, and you don't get to say I was a traitor for 24 hours, people are convinced you're a traitor from night one, which is so anyway.
Yeah, idiots. I cannot.
So that's why I'm like, did you ever think, okay, maybe Jericho's just gonna not believe anything was like authentic between us now that I'm revealing that I'm a traitor? Like, no one gets to understand fully that you just became a part of the conclave. Like, to them, that's not a fact. They don't know that. So were you thinking about, oh my God, how is Jericho gonna process this information, especially moving forward in the game?
Yeah, a little bit. I had hoped that he would be able to pick up on the fact that, there was a recruit. We knew there was a recruit. We just didn't know who it was. And I thought that he was very much on the same page of, it was clear I wasn't a traitor from the beginning, but I also understand that initial feeling of betrayal. Like, oh my God, the person I trust the most is a traitor in this game. Like, he's going to go through all of the emotions. I totally understand it. I would have gone through the same ones if it was him, But no, I thought it was really funny that everyone was, cheering and patting themselves on the back. Like, yeah, she got off that dock. And yeah, she's an actress. And like, none of that was part of why I was a traitor. Like, none of it. And that's why I keep saying that they're hot dummies, because like, what is this? And I think the funniest piece is Hollywood Jade saying every episode, be better than season 2. Are we? Like, are we? I'd love to hear that said again, because every episode I'm just laughing. I laugh at myself about it so I could laugh at everybody else too. Like, it's a harder game than it looks like.
I feel like you're kind of speaking my truth right now, and I didn't even have to say anything because watching it, I'm like, what? Come on, stop, please. Let's humble ourselves, please. Let's maybe second guess ourselves and our confidence right now, because like I feel like it could be a hot mess express. Like the crash and burn could be really bad. Not manifesting that for your cast, but like,
No.
goodness. So I have to ask, now that your journey is over, what is a lesson you've learned from this experience that you're hoping to take with you in your day-to-day life?
Yeah. I think my biggest lesson that I've learned from the show This sounds so silly. I went into the show like I previously had like a really bad heartbreak. Like I've been going through a lot. It's been a hard couple years. And when I went into the show, I was so dead set on I'm going to kill everybody. I don't care about any of this. I'm a bad bitch. And then I got there and it was almost like I was realigned with like my heart. Like it was like there was this softness that you see on camera that like was teased out in me from the beginning. And no one was more surprised to see that than me. Like I went in ready to be like this like man-hating villainess, getting to the end and taking the money and going to Cabo. And then in reality, I got there and suddenly it's like, I love you all. Let's be best friends. Ordain my wedding. Chala, let's get married. I love you. Jericho, you're my best friend. Like all of these pieces. And so I really felt, and it sounds so cheesy and lame, but I really felt like the game reminded me just to love and to trust and that there are so many beautiful things that come out of difficult situations. And I'm reminded of that every day when someone from the cast checks in with me, or I get a FaceTime call out of nowhere from like these people that have insanely amazing lives and still care to chit chat with little old me. So I just feel like, yeah, I really learned to love again and I really learned to trust again. And that's something I've struggled with for a really long time. And I would never have guessed that a game about murder and lies would teach me to love and trust, but it has. I felt like the Grinch and my heart got 10 times bigger.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love hearing that. And I have to say, you brought some of the funniest moments. An Ottawa Citizen reference in the middle of a roundtable was something I did not expect. And I bursted out laughing as someone who's lived in Ottawa. So I thought that was really funny. Or your ability to clock people. You went up to Meredith and say, hey, do you, do you perhaps dabble in women? and, and Meredith was
Retired
like, oh, you clocked. And even the car scene in the last episode with Charlotte, where you were like, you're very close with Meredith, and they were like, what, really, you think I'm close with Meredith? I just felt your ability to clock and just make comedic moments were so fun, and you brought it also, you gave me good balance with tears as well. So thank you so much for being you and being authentically yourself. It was so fun to watch.
Thank you. It's funny, it's cringe, it's embarrassing, it's loving. Like it really captured the whole of me as a person, and I really wouldn't do anything differently. I was really honored to get to be on the show and play with these people and to connect with so many beautiful humans like yourself, who've just shared the nicest things. So I feel really blessed.
Well, I ask this question at the end of every interview, so I have to ask you, who are you rooting for, the faithful or the traitors?
This is so hard. I like, okay, I've got kind of two answers here. I've got to
Mhm.
say, I want the faithful to win. I want to see Jericho. I want to see Hollywood Jade. I want to see Sarah Nicole. I want to see Chala. I want to see Shaughnessy. I want to see them at the end with the money. That is my life stream. And at the same time, Coco is playing such a phenomenal game. Like, and this is coming from one of her like banished enemies. Like, I'm like, girl, you deserve to win at this point. Like, the faithfuls are embarrassing themselves a little bit. If they get it together, they'll have my vote again. But right now, I'm like, Coco, you go, girl. Like, you're doing it. So I'll be happy with whomstever because I am Miss Congeniality. So.
All right, let's give you that sash or something. But thank you so much for coming and talking with me today. I really enjoyed it. You were giving main character. It wasn't just in your head, I promise. But is there anything you would like to plug or share before we wrap it up?
No, I would just say so many people are reaching out wanting more content and wanting to get to know me more. And like, I love people and I love to yap. So if you want to follow me on Instagram at Rollins Ria, I won't say no. If you have a cute brother or sister, send them my way. And until I'm cast on another reality TV show, I will see you soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ria.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have been here.